just
people, like successful people
let's just go.
aren't busy, you know, they're deliberate and they get shit done, you know. Go ahead. Let's get it going. Let's get it
Yeah,
going.
we can get it going. I can already tell this is going to be a hell of an episode. What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Breathe and Air podcast, where everyday action meets extraordinary mindset. Y'all are in for a treat today. We have Tom Boyd, aka Tommy Tickets, in the building. He is a content creator and the host of Creators Are Brands. You can find him on Instagram at bonus footage. Thank you for coming on, brother.
Yeah, man. Let's rock out. I'm excited to be on the show today.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun. So I know that you're kind of working on some new stuff. You got some stuff going. Give us any insight that we can get on what's to come, and what can the people be excited about coming from you?
Yeah, man. So I've been creating content. I've been creating content for like over 12 years, right? I started with a flip cam. I started in the music industry. I became an independent content creator. Like as a freelancer, I started making music videos. Then a big brand hired me. So I've seen like the creative world from all different angles. And I was very much inspired by like the journey of a solo creator, like you, right? An individual that has this concept that wants to empower people to, live life from their highest potential, and they create a podcast around it and they build an audience. And the next thing is like, how do we monetize that? How do I build a brand? And that whole entire process, man, it's lonely, right? Like there's not that many people in our immediate world that is there supporting us. And, even though I saw the creative world from so many different angles, like working with an artist, being the artist, working with a brand, being a freelancer, being the brand, like all these different things, like I've really had this, like this compassion, this empathy for the solo creator that is like, because there's so many challenges to getting their ideas seen and heard by the world, building an audience and monetizing it. So I started creating content on bonus footage on Instagram and bonus footage on TikTok, just around little things I've learned over the years that I thought would be helpful for that solo creator. And I'm just having fun with it, man. I'm really just experimenting. I kind of take it 10 videos at a time and I put them out and I see what hits, and then I make 10 more videos, and then I make 10 more videos. And then I got a lot of traction from that. So I started building the podcast and I interview some of the biggest creators out, and I talk all about how they're building brands online.
Yeah, you've had a hell of a journey, through this content creation. And it's almost, you always hear like, I'm a content creator, and that can fit in so many different lanes. What are some of the misconceptions that you've seen or that you've experienced personally about a quote unquote content creator in today's day and age?
Well, I was just talking about this with my buddy, because that show is on Netflix called Hype House.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, I eventually, because it's kind of the wild, wild west right now, where like everyone's just sort of figuring it out. It's like everyone's just like, all right, we can get attention, right? But like the Hype House, like people, they're called content creators, like the kids on TikTok, like just getting attention for kind of more ways that like isn't like the most sustainable to build a brand around. And then you have content creators like some of my favorite podcasters, like Nathan Barry, who's the owner of ConvertKit, or like Tom Bilyeu, who's one of my favorite podcasters and creators. The columnist Samir, right? They're also content creators. And I'm like, yo, that is such a different extreme of like content creator. So the way I kind of chunk it down is you have attention-driven creators, and then you have impact-driven creators or purpose-driven creators, right? Where the attention-driven, they're just trying to get views. They're trying to run up the numbers any way that they can. And a lot of people are good at doing that, but there's nothing really propping up or holding that brand. There's no foundation there. Then you have the people that are really seeking to provide entertainment and education, and they're the purpose-driven creators like the ones I mentioned before. And that's kind of the lane that I want to go. But I'm also trying to find ways to incorporate a little more fun side into it, because I love humor, I love comedy, I love stand-up, and I just think it's fun that people are stressed out. I want to give people a little lightness, a little funkiness with my content, and get a little education at the same time.
Yeah, I definitely feel you on that, because it's a fine line, especially when you're building, like you said, the purpose side of things. You are talking about serious things. Oftentimes it is, maybe more of a somber emotion with, what you're talking about. But this life is meant to be fun, man. Like, and people don't want to listen to that. There's there's a certain way to approach it that will be like, hey, we're going to make you smile, laugh, we're going to have fun and be real, but we're also going to give you something that's valuable. And
Totally.
that's kind of how I feel like sometimes I'll get into a certain thing and I'll be like, man, we need to spice this up to where people can digest it because it's real, it's raw. Like, we don't want to be the guys on the Zoom calls, like suit and tie, like,
Oh no, get that
nobody
out
wants
of
to do
here.
that. Yeah.
That's why I wear hoodies in all of my videos. I'm
Yeah.
like, yo, I need people to know that like we're comfy out here. We're not
Yeah.
taking ourselves too seriously.
Yeah, I saw on LinkedIn the other day, or I can't remember, it was on some social media, all the people of organization, they finally got together and they've had all these meetings over the years and they're, watching Zooms or WebEx or whatever it may be. And they're taking a picture and it was kind of a parody of, you know, business up top. And then they got like the
Yeah,
slippers and the shorts down below and stuff.
smart.
It's like, you can see just up top. I thought that was pretty
Yeah,
funny.
yeah,
What do you think, speaking of that concept, like what do you think of how COVID has affected the creator economy and how everything already really was going digital, but now it's almost boosted that to a different level?
yeah. Um, let me think about that for a second. I think people
I guess has it
it gave
added?
yeah. I think it might have a little bit. I think certain people, if anything, it became more competitive because everyone wants to be a creator now. But yeah, I think like the best content will continue to rise to the top. I think what you see is a lot of I mean the creator economy companies. I think that's the real thing that maybe the money saw the opportunity. So the investors and the startup founders were all like, oh, there's a gold rush here. These creators are building audiences. We can make tools to help them run their businesses. Now everyone's trying to build these companies to help them run their businesses because that's where everything is. So the good thing is there's a lot of creator economy companies that like been learning from and meeting and getting to know, and they're building and starting to advise for them, starting to work with them on one-off projects just to help them, especially the ones that I like and I support.
Yeah. You really speak a lot on energy and directing your energy towards something that you love. And has content creation always been something that you were like, this is something that I really love to do, that I'm good at, and let's figure out how to turn this into something that, can be
Yeah.
profitable?
In hindsight, it is. But at the time, like now that I wasn't I wasn't totally like self-aware of the things I was good at and the things I wasn't good at until like probably like 4 years ago, right? And but like there was a long time, but in hindsight, I can look back and I say, yeah, in college, when I wasn't inspired by any of the material that I was doing, I wasn't going to class, I was probably partying a little bit too much. I took all of the money that I had and bought a camcorder. And like, why would I do that? And like, I just something drew me to like capturing it. And then I remember editing a video then with a computer that like I had to convert the footage to like from the tape to the computer. Like I'm dating myself here a little bit, but like that it was right before the flip cam, and then I finally got the flip cam. But like editing a video took like 2 weeks to edit, like because my computer was so slow, but I just wanted to do it and I just wanted to share it with a friend. So looking back, I can say like, yeah, there was something there. And then I got the flip cam, and like my natural instinct was, oh, I started going, working in the music industry. My natural instinct was, I gotta share this. I want to show this to the world. And then I met someone from that was going to Columbia journalism school, and he was like, "Yo, you are changing the way storytelling. You're changing the way music journalism is going to happen for the future, right?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? I'm just sharing clips of this flip cam." It was basically Snapchat before Snapchat. So I just had this like natural like instinct to want to share things that I was curious about, and more so now. Yes, I can. I do understand that I have a passion for communication, I enjoy the process of doing it. I enjoy writing, and I enjoy connecting with people through concepts that are gonna help to motivate them in some way, whether it's like a little bit of insight, a different way of thinking, that is gonna help them in some way throughout their day as they're trying to put out content into the world.
Yeah. You have this rich history in the music industry. I've heard you allude to it multiple times. Where was the flip point to where you were like, whoa, we have an opportunity here to, be able to make real content that's going to be something that's beneficial to the artist?
Um, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I wanna say the noble answer, which would be, if I'm being completely honest, I think it was just selfish. I wanted to prove to people, like honestly, like this is, and sometimes stuff happens this way, right? Like, so here's an analogy, right? Some people get into health and wellness because they see the guy with the six pack, and they like start doing like the six pack like tricks that you see on the front of the magazine cover at the shopping. Like, but if that's the segue to get you into it, like that's fine with me, right? Like
Yeah.
that's not going to be sustainable. We all learn once you get into health and wellness, like that's not like the actual way to get a six pack, but
Yeah.
it gets some people into it, right? So my thing was like, I think at the beginning, if I can like kind of look at myself now with more self-awareness, it was a little bit of selfishness of, I wanted to prove to people back home that we were doing cool things. Right. So as I was doing that, the way that YouTube was working, people started seeing it and like, oh, it's actually working as a brand. And then I started to see the opportunity there. And then I was like, okay, cool. Like this is actually more than me just like flexing on some friends back home. Um, but yeah, it was like a very experimental process, and we totally entirely failed, and like most of it didn't work out. But I think that like I'm a firm believer in uh like even in education. I think the way education needs to change is we need to help young people see their strengths and their natural gifts as early as possible, and start building their activities and their experiments and their internships and their education around those, the things that you can be top 5% in the world. And like for me, it was creating content, storytelling, and connecting with people. And that's what it really taught me, and that's what I've been able to leverage more recently with the brands I'm creating now.
Yeah. What was that thing you mentioned earlier, that thing that someone had told you, hey, you're changing the game here with what you're doing? What was that thing that you were doing, or what was that little kick that he really noticed?
It was literally like fly on the wall type content with my flip cam on tour with an emerging rap artist. One friend who's a cinematographer. These are not my words, but he coined what I was doing as it invented uh tour videography as we know it today. And it was more of like the run and gun style vlog videos on tour, like before Wiz Khalifa was doing it. It was
Yeah.
it was with just a friend of mine. And yeah, the artist was is named Asher Roth.
Yeah.
And so it was, you know the again, at the time, like I see it as I see it as the education for like what we're doing now. Because at the time, like we didn't really love we knew we didn't love the brand. We didn't really love what we were doing. We were just trying to figure out what we were good at and what we wanted to do in the world. And like we didn't really get to learn that in college. So we were like learning that real time with like, just experimenting with putting out content.
Yeah. How was that ride? I mean, coming up at that time with Asher and, seeing that rise of blowing up basically, quote unquote viral, I guess you could call it, right?
Yep.
What was that experience like? And what were some of the biggest things that you took away from that?
Uh You know, I have a very love-hate relationship with that like era, because there was a lot of things that I did, just like that, in hindsight, like no one would ever say it, but like I'm like I was very out of character. Like I wasn't being me. Like
Mm.
I wasn't living like true to my like principles. Like just like and not like crazy things, but just like little things. Like looking back, I could see like, I was doing stuff for attention. I was doing things for just to get the views, like attention driven, like we talked about the
Yeah.
hype house earlier. Like, I think we got a hard knock education on it at the time though. um we all came out of school. We went to school to be educators, and then we went a very different path, knew nothing about the music industry, and saw this whole entire world. And the one thing that I would have learned was like, the people that we started doing business with, uh, we just kind of like trusted, everything was going to work out. We just trusted everyone had the best intentions. And you realize very quickly, like it's very much like the typical, like, I got burnt by the music industry story. But like I'm like, all right, it's a really cool I got burned by the industry story. And
Yeah.
like we get to decide if we're going to use it to learn and like, apply that to our next projects, or if we're going to have a victim mindset and be like, oh, I hate the industry. No, like, everyone's trying to put food on the table. All these labels got people to pay. All these people are trying to move up in the world. Like, and everything that I did in those situations, I either said yes to or no to. So a lot of it was like the areas that I would have improved on was the business side of things, being assertive, standing up for what I believed was my work, and asking for, the things that I felt I should have received in return for my work. But I'm able to apply that so much now, like even in just day-to-day conversations with brands or brand deals, or like, working with these new startups. Like, so much of what I learned there, I'm applying to like just being very forthcoming about like how I believe I should be included in on these projects and what I should be paid.
Yeah. And that's a great perspective to have. And it seems like sometimes we can look at, I wouldn't even call it a failure, right? It's just a lesson that we had to learn. Like
Yeah.
I've heard McGregor
Yeah.
say, like, no losses, just lessons, right?
Yeah. But like, here's the thing. You're right. You're so right. You're so right. There we like all right. The it was it like we totally failed. like, like, bro,
It's
bro, like, no. Here's the analogy, right? And I told you I have a football background. I remember sophomore year, right? I uh I was on defense. I was playing cornerback, and the other team was on the goal line, and 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 this guy goes to run it in. He's getting held up at the goal line, right? I strip the ball from him, and I start running 99 yards the other directions, and I'm just trucking. I'm trucking. I got the end zone in sight. Like, it was teed up to me, right? And I just started like feeling myself. I was pacing. I get tackled on the 5-yard line, and I fumble the ball, and the guy gets it. That's what we did. That's what we did in the music industry. Like, we literally had it teed up, but like at the like I can totally make excuses, but I like, whether or not it was my fault or someone else's fault. Like, I think it was all of a collective of our faults, but I also think it also wasn't right for us. I think it was something that we kind of went into, and we realized like something in us was just not aligned with what it was. So it
Mm,
wasn't going to be successful either way. Like we were trying to figure out a way out of that, whether it was like through bad business deals. Like, I think that like we needed to like go through that to find where we are today. And I think I think everyone on the team is better off. And like, Asher is like, he's thriving. Like, he's doing what he wants to do. He's in Philly. He's doing really fun things. Him and I keep in great touch, and we had to go through that. And it was like, I would rather those experiences, like, I'm like, Ash, we could have sat home and just like did the fantasy football league with our friends, and just kind of like and like just went through like the everyday things that most people go through. But like, yo, we
yeah.
risked so much. Like, I'm proud of us for just going for it. Like, we put our stuff in a U-Haul, everything we owned, and moved to Atlanta, and got serving jobs and valet jobs, and like made songs in a rat infested basement. And I'll honestly, well, here's the thing for anyone that's listening, and I would prefer to, if you didn't make clips off of this part, because this isn't like the brand that I kind of push now on my. I very
Yeah.
like, it's very like a new chapter of putting out content. I try not to like like flex like that era, but it does give perspective and context for listeners of like why I care so much about the independent creator now, because I saw my best friend get screwed over a lot of money. I was screwed over a lot of money. I've made a lot of dumb decisions as an independent creator. Like, from that point till now. And like, this is just me sharing my real time experience of like, hey guys, like, don't go this direction, go this direction.
Yeah. And I think that that's super important, because I feel like sometimes we hate continuing to go back to the past and like pulling things up that might have really been like uncomfortable, bad situations when we look back at it. And I
Yeah.
know that that's a totally different trajectory on what you're going, but I think it is, like you said, in context, so cool to see that, hey, this was such an amazing experience. Could have been a failure, could have not been, but
Yeah.
look at where I am now and how many people I'm going to help not go down that path.
Exactly. And like, listen, like, it's like so hard. This is, we talk about it a lot too. I was like, my man, I watched my homie go, and like, people don't see this side of it. And I got this perspective. Like, I've been around some of the, like, this is not an exaggeration, the biggest stars in the world. Like,
Yeah.
literally an intimate, like playing Mario Kart, like chilling, shirtless, just like eating granola bars, just hanging out, right? Like, I've seen them in their, like, just like the insecurities, the way people, these people think. And like, it is like, just because they have that, like, it looks like they got it figured out. None of these people have it figured out. It's more challenging for them. And I watched my friend go from serving pizzas, like, as a delivery person, to being, having a song top 10 on the charts. Maybe it was 11. It was pretty big, but like, within months. And then all of a sudden, world tour, national tour, like, on Jimmy Fallon, like, all the things, right? Like seeing that overnight, you cannot go to school for that. Like, there's no education for that. And like, what that does to your mind, like, and like, trusting people around you, it does so much. So like I think we all need to have, like, everyone's doing our best out here, especially a lot of these creators. Like, they don't have the best circles around them. They don't have like-minded people that are also trying to, like, achieve these similar goals. So I'm just, I'm just trying to help where I can and get in where I fit in.
Yeah. This is something, and then we can definitely move on from the music side of things in your past. But I hear a lot of the content, I've heard some other podcasts and things that you've done, and you've talked about Pharrell and like this interesting relationship that I feel like you two kind of had. Tell me a little bit about that, and like, what did you learn from that? Because is he really like he seems?
Dude, he's better than he seems. Um, and from my perspective, and this is only from my perspective, Pharrell and I are best friends. even though I haven't probably seen him in person for like 5 years, right? But or talked to him. But no, I was in the studio with Pharrell for 2 weeks in Miami. And by it was Asher's session, and I was, Asher's creative partner. So I was in the studio, and we got to see this man in his element. Like, you can't find this on a documentary. You can't find this, like, on a live stream. Like, I got to see him. I got to see, like, what he ordered. I got to see how he talked to his kid. I got to see the reality shows that him and his wife watched in the room next to us. Like, I got to see the way this man's mind thought, and like, or his ideas, and how he connected dots. And it was like, had to be the most inspiring, like, 2 weeks, like,
Yeah.
in my creative journey that I've ever experienced. Just seeing the way he operated. He's a true rock star. And like, we hear about the rock stars that, like, do the drugs and stay up at night and do all the women. Like, this guy does not smoke or drink. This guy shows up to the studio with his kid and his wife, right? Like, with his family there.
Awesome.
He shows up like it's a job. He shows up at 9, and he works for 3 hours, and then he takes a little break, and then works for another hour or two, and then he bounces. Like most musicians, they show up at 3 a.m. in the morning and, like, get lit up, and so, like, just seeing how this guy operated and be like, yo, there's a different side of rock star that is out there. It's just not getting headlines because it's not that exciting or flashy or sexy, but like, it's possible to be a really good person in this industry, as a creative, as an entrepreneur, who he also is. He's kind of the embodiment of all that thing. Like, if creator was a word back when he was starting, like if there was like TikTok, YouTube, like Instagram, all the things, like, he would have been like he would have been like taking full advantage of these spaces and probably going a full-blown independent route.
Yeah. I always think it's so intriguing to, take a look into someone's habits, their mindset, and like, especially someone like that who has such a different take, it seems at times, who hears or maybe sees things differently. For him, his ear is just so different, right? It's like someone who has such a good palate, or a sommelier, they're like drinking wine. You're like, do you taste that? I don't taste that. It's
Yep.
like seeing people's perspectives, which I don't think we do enough in today's society in general, is putting ourselves in like other situations that may be uncomfortable, but really change the way that we view things. Has there been specific times in your career and your life where you were like, whoa, this is going to be really uncomfortable, but at the backside of it, you came out so much better?
Yeah, I think the whole process, I wouldn't say it's a specific thing, but the whole process of learning to talk about money as a creative has been like an uncomfortable experience that I'm very proud that I've gotten really good at. I used to not be good at it at all. I used to like, because there's so much of like in a creative's mind, you make something, and we make something because we want to be seen and we want to be accepted, right? And part of that acceptance is we want to give everyone every reason to accept us. So one of those reasons is to not charge appropriately. Maybe charge don't value ourselves the way that we should be. And so like, young creatives and freelancers and musicians and creators, like, they get taken advantage by the suits, by the big managers, by the labels, by the brands, right? All the time, because they have this like or at least from my experience, I can only speak from my experience, that like I would charge low because I just wanted to be accepted. But like once I like love myself more and like really understood my gifts and was more self-aware, then I was just like, listen, like one, you can frame the price in a way that isn't going to make them hate you. And two, even if they say no, like I started to think of the math. All right, if I charge you double or like ask for more, um, every single time, eventually it's going to even itself out. Like I may get less, less deals or like less, people paying me, but I'll make more because I'll be charging double. So
Yeah.
like just learning, just going through that has been really a fun, like, at first I was fearful, like talking about money, like when to say, but on the phone call, like I'm excited to talk about, hey, can you talk about like, what do you guys want to invest in this? Just like how you frame it, like gets everyone on the same page. And I just think having, just finding comfort in talking about money as a creative person has been an uncomfortable thing. But I think the more you do it and the more you see it as an experiment, the better you'll get at it.
Is that something that just came from reps for you, or was there kind of a light bulb moment where you heard something, saw something, read something, or had
Uh,
that kind of come to
well, I'll
fruition?
tell you a really great book. I got it right here. A friend suggested this to me. Happy Pocket Full of Money,
Okay.
Infinite Wealth and Abundance in the Here and Now. And I'm into this sort of stuff. But whenever I feel it, like I feel like empowered that like, listen, we all have like this ability to put ourselves in a position to receive money. And I think a lot of my thinking growing up was that like money was connected to people that aren't good, they are greedy, that take advantage of people. But then I realized that like, no, that's not the case. Just like I said with Pharrell, like he doesn't get credit for being a rock star because he's not partying and doing drugs, right? Like the people that are doing good with money just don't get the attention. We hear about the headlines of the people doing the schemes. We hear about that stuff. So we connect all of our memories around rich people that like took advantage of people that didn't have money. But there's so many people doing good with money that are using it um, to reach more people, to serve more people, to empower their creative ideas, to create time freedom to be their best version of themselves so they can be more present for their kid or for their relationships or, or whatever. So, no, it's been an ongoing thing. I think a really great resource, this book, as far as the creative sense, this guy named Chris
Okay.
Do. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. It's Do. Chris Do. He talks a lot about this value-based pricing, and he just gives you these frameworks for thinking about pricing your work as a creative. There's another guy named Jonathan Stark who talks about pricing your work, and they just give great frameworks for how to think about like your time. So even as a creative person, we say, oh, I'm going to charge for this video. You like, so many of us just like say, oh, it's a 30-second video, I'll just estimate it costs this much, but they don't factor in like the time it takes to travel back and forth to the location, the time it takes calling people to, to to get on the set, the time it takes wardrobe, and like by the end of it you're losing money based off of the amount of time you put in the project. So it's been an ongoing process, and I think those couple of resources have been key for me. Also the fact that like, just this is what I do sometimes working with these brands. I think about, right, all right, if I don't charge what I'm worth, right, there's still going to be a CEO somewhere that's chilling in his office with his feet up, super nice in Palm Beach, right? Like he does not care if I charge an extra $500. If and like, so you might as well ask for it. The worst you can get is, hey, we're not going to pay that, maybe this amount. And here's a good framework too. I'm going on a rant. I hope this is helping people. Here's a good framework that I've used. This is probably the one thing. If you're going to take one thing away from like thinking about charging for stuff, if they accepted your first offer, whether it's like equity, whether it's like money for a brand deal, whether it's charging for a video, if they, or for you for your podcast, if they accepted your first offer, you did not charge enough.
Yeah.
You could have got more. And I challenge you to just like, sometimes I'll do this. I'm like, all right, $1,000. I think 1,500. No rhyme or reason. Looks a little better. Let's see what they say. Like, what are they gonna like? All they can say is no.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean it's very true, and it's interesting how we make these weird assumptions or these stories up in our head on, like you said, I just want to be accepted. Like maybe if I come a little lower, they'll take it, and then I'll be like, okay, I didn't fail. Like it's good.
And then here's the thing too. Then you resent them. Then you resent the whole project if you don't. And then it doesn't set it up for a good relationship. But the people that like are paying me, right? Like I want to show up for them. I'm like, all right, yeah, this is worth my time. And then everyone wins from that.
Yeah, that energy is reciprocated. I think that can apply to a lot of different things, but that's really a good point there. It's like, that your time is the most valuable thing that you have. So make sure that you feel like you're appreciated, and in turn, they're going to get the best product from you.
Yeah, totally.
So
wait, one more framework. I find, I don't know how many people are like freelancers or charge for their creative work, but I find that the people that are like trying to haggle the most and trying to skim the most at the beginning, they're the worst clients to work with. They're the ones that are over your shoulder the whole time. They're the ones that are just like a hassle the whole entire time. The people that are like, yeah, send it, let's go. They expect you to just be a professional, do your job, make the thing, and keep it moving. And I find that like pricing more helps to filter out the people you actually want to work with too. But
that's a very valid point. I actually saw a buddy of mine post something very similar to that. It was like $25,000 client. All right, here, I just sent the money. $500 client. Well, what about this?
Change
what about
this.
That? What about that?
One more iteration. Dude, it's so, I saw that meme too. It's so accurate.
Yeah. There's also this concept, I think, in content creation where, you want to be a perfectionist, even in your own work. When you first start putting yourself out there and you're looking at the draft or whatever it may be for 6-7 times, you start picking it apart, especially for someone that's first starting and they're like scared to take the leap to put themselves out there. What's your advice to them?
My advice is one, I'm definitely better at this. I'm not perfect at not trying to be a perfectionist though. Right? Like there's things that I definitely, I'll look at a video from a week ago. I'm like, ew, I hate myself in that. But I would challenge yourself, right? Especially in today's day and age, where like there's not always a rhyme and like, all right, here's how I measure content. This will give you a bar, right? This is where I'm at with it now. All right, there's 2 boxes that it needs to check. One, am I genuinely curious about this? Is this something that like when I go for a walk, like I think about this. Like this is something that like I really want to wrap my brain around. And two, is this something that I would tell at least one person? It's the curiosity rule and the we'll share a one person rule. Like so me and you are going to be friends, you know, after this conversation.
Of course.
And if I find a book that I'm like, you know what, I really want to tell him about that book. In my mind, that's a good piece of content, because if I want to share it to one person, all social media is scaling one person interactions. So if I want to share this tidbit from this book, all making a video about that is just sharing my interaction with you. So I'll have conversations with friends, and I'll say something, and I'll hear him be like, yo, I never thought of it like that. Boom. That's a video concept. So like I start there, right? Then when I make the video now, like in hindsight, yeah, perfectionism, like, dude, when we used to shoot music videos, it would take 3 months to make a video. Because like you got to make the song, then you got to get the song mixed, then you got to get the people for the videos, then you got to get the director, you get all the things, you got to show the like, and then the edit of that, right? But like that era of like that era of like waiting for content, or like in that era, it kind of worked. People didn't expect people to be as consistent then. But still, I would have done it. I wish we did it like every week and just totally just relaxed on like trying to have every little box checked for each of those videos. But now, especially on social media, people are very forgiving about like, you know, more raw content, you know, text not being right in the video, you know, your face a little, you know, out of alignment. I would say do a couple experiments and do something. Like when you see something that's a little off, like this is what I did the other day. Like there was literally, if you look at one of my more recent videos, there's lint. There's a ball of lint on my hat. It was like, it was on like the washing machine floor. And I was like, after I shot it and edited it, I went to put it up and I was like, oh my goodness. And I was like, you know what? If anything, it's a talking point, you know? So I put it up and no one said anything. Like it's only like we look at each thing. Like the way people are consuming this content is they're standing in line at Target and they're scrolling with their thumb. They're giving you 3% of their attention. They don't really care, right? So
Yeah.
like really, especially when you're starting out, the name of the game is experimentation. Like I said before, creating in like those sets of tens. Did I say that on here on the other podcast?
Yeah, you did. You
Okay,
did.
yeah. So creating the sets of 10, seeing what works, seeing each 10 videos as an experiment, and then just seeing what the platform likes, what your audience likes, and what you like, and then make it a little better for the next 10, and then make it a little better for the next 10. And as you do that, you'll start to naturally become a better storyteller. You'll start to stack these skills over time where like you don't even think about like making the perfect product anymore. You just think about connecting with the people that need the content.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think that's a fire bar, because it's people sometimes go into this as thinking, let me reach the world, right? Which,
Yeah.
yes, you have the power to do that. But at the same time, there is a set amount of people that need to hear exactly what you have to say. And those are the people
Yes.
at the end of the day that you want. You want that community that's really bought into exactly what you have to offer, because you're not going to be able to appeal to everybody.
I'll give you an example. So I love the digital course space. I'm going to make a course eventually. I'm just trying to figure out my angle. And for the last couple of years, I listened to a lot of like the people in the digital marketing space. And, you know, I went from one podcast to another podcast, and I never really bought a course and like invested a course like that. This was a couple of years ago. And eventually there was someone that was teaching it in their style, in their voice, and the right timing for me that made sense, that had a very similar product to everyone else, but for some reason their voice resonated with me.
Mm.
And so I gave them my money. And I think that's the case for everyone. Whether your product is a podcast or a TikTok or a Twitter thread or a Substack or a newsletter, right? Like, I think that like most people like have like a style of content that fits their style of delivery and an audience that wants to connect with their specific voice. Maybe I'm biased, but I do believe that. So like the thing is, it's not like all these people were competitors. I just needed to find someone that I resonated with the most. Like some people will be like, "Yo, I don't like Tom's style," I don't like the way he communicates on his podcast, but this person over here is talking about the same exact thing. He just does it a little bit more conducive to the way I learn. And that's totally fine. Like there's
Yeah.
enough to go around.
Yeah. Are you curating when you're talking about these different, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, are you curating content specifically to these platforms, or are you kind of saying, hey, this is me, let's send it out, blanket statement?
Yeah. So you mean like, am I creating something specific for TikTok and not like making it very
Yeah.
contextual to that platform and not thinking like I'm going to make one video and send it everywhere?
Yeah. Right. Correct.
So
Like, is there different techniques for
definitely
a TikTok versus a
a
reel
hundred
or
percent.
versus Twitter? Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. I don't know all the nuances just yet. I will say this. There's two things that so okay. So I I believe that short form video content is the one type of content that is the most versatile. That essentially every single platform is competing, putting hundreds of millions of dollars into, if not
Yep.
billions, well, probably billions of dollars into being
Yeah.
the leading platform. YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, I'm sure Twitter soon, LinkedIn, all of them. Short form, vertical, 60-second tops videos, right?
Tops. Yeah.
So that is a great way. If you're like, yo, I'm doing this as a side project, that is a great way to start. If you're like, yo, I'm gonna create one type of content, I think short form video content is the way to start. If you feel like you can, and you don't have to be on camera, it could be over the shoulder, it could be screen share, it could be a lot of different formats. I do think that's true, but there are nuances to each platform. So like TikTok, I believe, is a little more conversational. It's like it's actually more like Twitter than it is like YouTube, where it's an ongoing conversation. People seem to like raw video content there. It like straight from the camera, like reply videos, stitch videos. Like it's more like the way Twitter has retweets and shares, and like you can do all that with reply videos and stitches and all those things on TikTok. So I do think a lot of videos on TikTok uh uh, don't that do well don't convert on Instagram. Instagram, I believe, is more visual. It's more like, so I think like photographers do well there, where they see like the before and the after of the photo. Artists do really well. Artists do well on TikTok too. Like there's some of the ones that like don't require like language in the videos, like there's all you
Yeah.
see is the visual and like music. They
Yeah.
usually do well on both. But I would say Instagram is a little more polished. There's a little bit more of like a produced type of content that people. I mean, I might be wrong in that, but that's based off of like maybe just the accounts that I
Yeah.
interact with.
No, I agree.
Um, yeah. But this is what I'll say. If you're starting out, and I learned this from Jack Butcher. Do you know Visualize Value?
I
It's a
may have. What is it?
you've probably seen it. He's the guy that does those Instagrams and Twitter photos where it's like just a black frame, and then there's like a graphic in the middle with like a little subtext on it, and it's
Yeah.
usually he takes Naval. Do you know Naval Ravikant?
Yeah.
Takes
Yeah.
Naval Ravikant's principles and like distills them down into images. And I took his course, and it's a fantastic course. I highly recommend it. Build Once, Sell Twice. I'm not an affiliate, but like by far like one of my most recommended courses when it comes to thinking about your digital brand. And so he says at the beginning, he says, make one when you're starting out your account, make one decision that will make 1,000 decisions. So pick one platform, right, for 6 to 12 months. So boom, that's the only decision I need to make. Get really good at that platform. So all these platforms have different nuances: when people engage, what time they engage, how they want to engage, the type of people on these accounts. So get really good on this one platform. But then part of making one decision that makes 1,000, he would say, all right, I'm only going to make images that are black and white. Boom. That's a decision where he doesn't have to decide, do I need to put red or blue or ink or all this stuff? Boom. That's it. And then geometrical figures. Like that is like, it gives him this creative constraint that he can then filter all his ideas through on this one platform. So he gets very like, he's able to see the reactions of how this is working and continue to build and iterate like his creative ideas through those filters on that one platform. Then after 6 to 12 months, you get, 25,000 on one of those accounts, 50,000, whatever, start moving over to another platform. Then take the ones that work there, go to Instagram or go to Twitter. And that's what he did. He built his account on Twitter first, then on Instagram.
Yeah, I like what you said there about the creative constraint, because you would think, oh, I don't want to be constrained in my work and in my creative thought process. But in some ways, it kind of reminds me of like the discipline equals freedom thing. You got to put some type of blinders on, or else you're going to see a lot of, cars passing by.
Dude, it's so true, and it's really hard for like entrepreneurial type,
It's
creative
so hard.
types.
Dude, I'm
But it,
so bad at that.
yeah,
So bad.
it's so helpful. I did it in a sense with my videos. So like, I want to make like, bro, like I love making vlog videos. I love making like more exciting videos. But like right now, in like where I'm at, I was like, all right, what's the thing that I can be very consistent with? I was like, all right, I got this set up here. I got this little light. I got my camera. I was like, all right, so my creative constraint will be getting creative with the actual words that I'm saying in my video. I'm going to talk to this one person. I'm only going to use yellow text. I'm going to sit right here and I'm going to do this 100 freaking times. And then all of my ideas, like, I'm like, I filter through that. And then what it is like, it's like, it's like
Mm.
these artists that make songs, right? Their creative constraint is, all right, there's 3 verses, there's 3 hooks, the song's 3 minutes. Like that is like a song for Pharrell is a creative constraint, right? Like he could make an 80-minute song if he wanted, but like that, like, so here's the thing. So imagine every single time people did like a different format for a song, they would never get better at like, they start to realize, okay, a hook works best when it's 12 to 15 seconds long. Like, so then like that's another constraint. And each time you get a little bit better stacking on like your understanding of what works, how your skills show up with what works. So like, that's why I like the creative constraints, because you can filter through that and then you can start to see real world feedback of what you need to improve when you have constraints.
Yeah, that's really, really good advice. And it's definitely speaks to me, because I feel like anyone who is that ambitious type, you're listening to the show because you want to get better in one way or another, right? You wouldn't be here if not. So a lot of times high achievers like that have squirrel brains sometimes. We want to keep moving. We got to
Bro,
like really kind of focus that, that sprinkle of ADHD that most of us probably have, but you got to really, really focus that. It reminds me too of, whenever you're starting something and you're building something and it's a mess because there's so many different pieces. And sometimes you get crippled by the fact that you think there's so much stuff going on at once that it's hard to be focused on the end result. When in reality, like, you're going to get a lot more out of that once you've created the systems, you've created the processes, and then it kind of almost becomes a plug and chug, so that more monotonous work is already set as a foundation. And then it gives your creative freedoms. Like you said, you have those and you can just funnel it into that system.
yep.
So then it takes the monotonous, like the harder side of creation. It just becomes a funnel once it's created.
Totally. And what I would suggest too, and this is what I do, is like I have the squirrel brain. I get excited. I'm like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do this. And I just have a list of like nice to do ideas, or nice to have ideas, where I'm like, all right, in the future, I'll hit that. In the future, okay, this type of vlog channel I want to do. In the future, like, oh, this type of podcast episode. But like right now, I have to stick to like the things that are going to make the most be the most effective for moving my brand forward.
Yeah.
Again, too, it all comes down to, I think, like all of these conversations need to be prefaced with like, what's your goal, right?
Yeah.
Like some people want to just like have it be a hobby, just want to enjoy the process. Like, is your goal money? Is your goal like attention? It all varies. Is your goal like, reaching people? Like it all depends on that. But yeah, like for me, having a creative constraint is so helpful. You know who talks about creative constraint? There's a video, and I would highly recommend searching it. This was a video that was a game changer for me. I probably saw it like 5 years ago. You know the brand Chubbies?
Yeah.
I think it was their creative director or like their head of content or something. He did a speech at some like marketing event. So if you look at like Chubby's, if you Google Chubby's um viral strategy, like it'll probably be there on YouTube. And
Yeah.
it's like a 10-minute speech, and he talks about constraints. And he talks about one of their videos with that um like they had like $200 to shoot it. And that's a creative constraint. And he was like, later we had 5,000 to shoot it, and our videos got worse because like then like we could put the money in so many different places, and it kind of watered down like the actual substance of the video. So he was saying they were actually better when they had less money because it was more of a creative constraint to filter ideas through.
Wow. That's perspective too. I think it's so interesting. Like, oh, I wish I had this and I could do this. If I had this, I could do this. There's so much to
Yeah.
be said for, less of the planning. I saw this thing the other day where it's like you get dopamine from planning certain things. You're thinking about like, oh, I'm
Yo,
going to do
I think I
this.
saw the
Like,
same thing.
this is awesome. Like, I'm going to do this and this. And your mind's like thinking about it. And you're like, oh, yeah, when I get there, this is how it's going to feel. Like, there's something to be said for that too. That's a totally sidebar, but you can get stuck in that process versus acting. You can almost get that paralysis of having all these ideas and too many of them and sitting on them instead of, hey, sometimes you love the guy that's just going to send it and he's going to shoot a bunch of shots.
Bro.
And most of them are going to miss, but he's going to hit one versus this guy took like 5.
That's my motto. And I'll tell you right now, it wasn't always that. I was caught. I remember, like, as you were saying this, it kind of triggered me because like I used to be the type of person that when I made a video, when I made something that I was going to put to the internet, I would send it to 10 people and be like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And like, just so insecure about like what I wanted to protect myself, make sure it was perfect before the world saw it. But now, and this year with this content, I don't do that. I rarely do that. If anything, it'll be like a this or that. It'll be like, yo, do you like the text like this or the text like this? It won't be like, do you like the video? Should I not post it? It'll be like a very like specific thing. But like either way, I'm gonna post it because like it just getting in the habit of sending it and not sending it to your immediate friends. Let them see it when it's on the internet.
Right.
Let them react. Like, and it's kind of even cooler because like there's certain people that are like, yo, I didn't even know you were posting this content. Like how come you didn't, like, you used to send me everything? Like that gets you in like a habit, because what happens is you'll get 3 different perspectives. One person is like, oh, I like it, but I don't like this part, and this person's like, I don't like this part, and all of a sudden you listen to all of their edits and it waters down the creative vision that you even had in the beginning.
Yeah, you get your mind starts grabbing those and it's like, oh, and then you start seeing those little things like the lint on your hair, on your head. And most of the people aren't even looking at that. But like that's the only, you're laser focused on that.
I challenge you whoever's listening to this, put some lint on your like shoulder or your head in the next video and just let it fly. it'll be like a nice creative practice.
Yeah, it's crazy too, because I feel like little things like that we would be insecure about are almost like, yeah, either people aren't going to even notice, or 2, like you said, it's going to be an engagement, like more engagement on the other end. Like it's,
I've been kind of like playing around with that. It hasn't really, I wouldn't say it's made a tremendous impact, but like playing around with like a couple things in the videos. Like the one video, I was just stacking my hard drives. I was like, what could I do while I'm saying
I saw
this?
that one.
And I was just stacking them. And like everyone in the comments is saying like, what are you stacking? And like real people, like people that like create content, do video content, they know. So it like, they know, and like they're responding. So it has created engagement. It didn't like send it viral in any way, but like it did stir up like a good amount of engagement on that specific video.
Yeah, that's interesting. We were talking about goals earlier. Are you a New Year's resolution guy? Like, what's your take on a New Year's resolution?
I'm not like a big I'm a big like, yo, let's get it every freaking day. Like every week. I think there's a lot of hype. I think like I said, about the, seeing the 10 tips on how to create a 6-pack on the magazine cover, right? Like if that's what gets you in to the world of like, creating self-improvement, building goals, right? That's cool. So I think New Year's resolutions does do that for a lot of people. It gives them a little bit of like renewed energy to focus something. So I'm not like anti it at all. If you want to know, like we can talk, like I do have goals. I try to do them in like 3 months, 3 months at a time. Like kind of like I said, like, as a creative person, like thinking in like a year, like it gets like, as far as like working on the creative project, like that stresses my brain out. Like I'm like, but in 3 months I can focus on like, all right, the task that I need to do to reach this goal. So yeah, I have like a health and fitness goal. I have a goal for my TikTok, and I have a goal for my podcast. Uh, and yeah, I don't know how specific you want to get with them, but um, I kind of treat it in like a season. I want to build the entire brand around the podcast, and then eventually make a course. And it looks like I'm going to be collaborating with some companies in the creator economy, helping them, consulting them, maybe working with them more like in like a full-time basis. And but like for my personal brand, like I very much want to build a brand around the Creators Our Brands podcast. That's sort of like the foundation. Continue to make the TikToks and build that account, and like create like, a lot of reach for the podcast from there, and then make a course. I don't know what the course is going to be yet, because like I really want it to be something I like don't half butt, and I really care about it. I think it's going to be something I want it to. My thinking is, I want to create something that is almost like the template for how to think about charging your work as a creator. So not like what is whitelisting, and like what is ad use, and like all that stuff, but more like the foundational like ways of like thinking about yourself as an abundant creator, and like the ability to the impact that you're making on this brand, and it's kind of building more self-confidence from like doing that inner work. But I'm just not that, like, I'm good at doing it. Like I'm good at like putting it in practice. I'm still trying to figure out how to like communicate it and like tell it to someone else. Right. So yeah, you asked me what my goals are. Like, yeah, drop a course this year, build the podcast to, it'd be nice to get it to about 10,000 listens this year, a month, or no, an episode, and obviously get the TikTok to 1 million, baby.
Let's go.
We're going there. We're going there.
It's been pretty nuts to see what TikTok has done in such a short period of time. I mean, from it going to dances to now within like the last 6 months, I feel like it's almost transformed and added another layer to itself in content creation and branding. And, that whole aspect is just, it's really transformed to me at what it started out as.
Bro, I got this sheet right down here of companies that I've been in contact with. And this is not a flex by any means.
Yeah.
I'm saying this to share the opportunity on this thing, because I thought it was a booty shaking app. I thought it was just like, I honestly didn't even want to put anything on there. I started making these shorts for YouTube Shorts, because I want to get into speaking too, and like public speaking. I love being in front of people, telling stories. So I was like, all right, these shorts are a fun way to experiment and like scale these ideas that I'm having, these conversations I'm having with people, with friends. So I started on YouTube Shorts. Then like they weren't really hitting, and this was last year. And then I started putting them on Instagram Reels, and they were doing all right. I got a couple shares, got a couple hundred followers, but then I was just like, all right, whatever. I'll throw them up on TikTok. And like, by far the most reach on TikTok, like not even close.
Yeah.
So then I was like, all right, I'm going to start focusing on there, the same way I talked about Jack Butcher. I was like, all right, that's the account I'm going to focus on for this chapter right here. Then these companies, I'm telling you, I would probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, like 15 companies that are worth a lot of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So let's say that's over $100 million worth of companies came across my idiotic content, whatever, how much you want to dumb it down, like saying it's TikTok videos through TikTok, right? Like, So the opportunity, I'm only sharing that because like I want someone to hear that and be like, wait, there's actually opportunity here. Cool. I'm going to start posting stuff. Whether TikTok makes sense for you or not, like for some people it will, but there is opportunity on this platform. And I will caveat, not all these companies, once they got to know me, wanted to work with me, but but still, like as like a top of funnel conversation with a legitimate company that I want to work with, they came across my content on this app. And I'm considered very small still. Like I'm only at 54,000 right now. So like you don't even have to be like that crazy have a crazy following to actually have these conversations.
Yeah. And that's like, it's just wild the way that it's happening. It makes me think too of Web3. And I don't know how much you've gotten into that space, but kind of the transformation from that side of, having 4, 5, 6 big companies running that tech media side of things with, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, to now this like transformation that we're kind of seeing with NFTs and, creators getting their ownership on certain things. Someone else buys, a secondhand piece of art that's already been transferred from one person to the other, and then the creator gets credit for it again. I mean, that concept is almost even more so curating the fact that creation and this creation economy that's come from social and from technology is not going anywhere anytime soon.
Totally. And that's a world that I'm not, I don't have the most knowledge around, but like all my spidey senses say like that's where it's gonna be. Like,
Yeah.
but what I will say is like, because I've tried to get into it. There's a couple people that in my community that I'm hoping to be able to collaborate with and kind of have them as like my right hand person and like how do I figure out like what my Web3 project will be. But the one thing that I've noticed, and I might be wrong, but like I was like trying to observe this. I was like, all right, who are the people that are winning in Web3? Like, who are the people that have like made a come up? And what I realized was the people that are winning the most in Web3 right now, the most of them are people that are winning in Web2. Like they have an audience already, and they were able to just think like throw it over to like these Web3 concepts, like the Gary V, the Beeple, like all of the, like Jack Butcher, like all of these people. There are some other projects that they're like kind of growing organically in the Web3
Mm-hmm.
space, but I'd say at least the public ones, the ones that I see, that ones that's not totally like seeing the everyday movements of it because
Yeah.
I'm just like not in the world as much. It seems like so like for me, I'm like, all right, my strategy is to continue to build my audience in Web2. Then when like the concepts make more sense to me and like there's more tools around it, like then I can like use these constraints to build like these projects that will thrive in Web3.
Yeah.
But
Once
like
again,
it's definitely
creative
going there.
constraint. Yeah,
Yeah.
no. But that's once again that thing, because every shiny object, well, if you're not doing this very well, then why are you going to transfer to this and then do 2 things average
Yeah.
instead of doing one thing great?
Yeah.
To me,
Yeah.
that makes a lot more sense.
100%.
Tom, what is your definition of success?
Man, it's being happy. It's feeling good about who you are. It's having like a good meal. It's like literally just like it's like dude, it's the simplest thing. It's like having like when you walk into your house and like you have like a bunch of like a fresh set of groceries from Whole Foods. Like it's
Yeah.
like that feeling, right? Like walking in after a workout, after a productive day, and just like having a kitchen full of Whole Foods groceries. That is success to me.
I love it.
With your favorite people, with your
Yeah.
favorite people. That's success to me.
Man, that's really speaks to me too, because I feel like a lot of people, myself included, will get so caught up in the tiny things and where they aren't instead of what is currently here. Like every high performer and achiever knows that fine line between setting goals, thinking down the road, but not getting too far down, because then you're really going to be like kind of miserable in the present because you're like not even here, and It's a weird thing to think about, but I have to constantly remind myself that, because it's like, dude, you can get down a wormhole, you turn around, it's 4 weeks. You might be dealing with a bunch of anxiety and depression because you can't be here in the moment.
Bro, it's such a good thing to bring up. And I will say that, like, in a podcast format, in an interview, my lips are chapped.
It's all
I
good, man. It's cold season.
Yeah. In the hold up, I had to cut this out. It's on that side.
You got it.
Yeah. So in this podcast format, like, being able to answer the questions, like, I can answer like with like, yeah, like, that's success to me. I have to remind myself of that a lot. Like, the things that, like, bring me the most joy is like literally like having an engaging conversation with someone that is like bringing a new perspective to me. It's like literally it's literally shooting hoops with my little brother. It's like the simplest things, but yeah, we get caught up. Like, it's so easy to get caught up in like the everyday, like trying to like show the world that like we're a success, trying to build this thing to prove to something. Like, so I think, like, yeah, I have to remind myself of it on a consistent basis. But I mean, one of the best practices is like, journaling on gratitude, is meditation, is literally going for walks, drinking water, like, just like reminding myself of like what we do have. And I feel like I don't know if it's placebo or it's just in our head, but I think reminding yourself of what you do have attracts more of what you want. And I don't know. That's how I try to I operate as much as possible. But I'm not the best at it, but I'm getting better and better.
Yeah, none of us are. I mean, we could go down. We're gonna have you back on, because we could go down
I'm game.
that whole entire road of
bro,
experiences with meditation, and
yeah,
we could
I'm
go.
game. This has been a lot of fun, man.
Yeah,
I
we
would
could go
love
for
to I
days.
would love to hop back on. You're a great interviewer. If there's any way that
Appreciate
I
it,
could
man.
assist the show, anyone that is listening, that wants to reach out, come check out bonus footage on TikTok or Instagram. I put all the content on TikTok, and I take the ones that I think are more like polished, and I put them on Instagram. And then the podcast is creatorsourabrands.com, and we're building, baby.
Building.
Yeah, let's get it.
Well, thank you, Tom, so much for coming on. Y'all go check him out at Bonus Footage everywhere, anytime. Hit him up. You got some stuff coming. We couldn't
We
give the
got some
whole
stuff.
synopsis, but be on the lookout for that too. Tom obviously has great experience and knowledge on what he's doing and building. So definitely go check him out and show some love. Tom, thank you so much for coming on the show.
My man, have a wonderful night.